The NAACP has just made a call for athletes, families, friends, alumni, and community members at large to boycott football and sports in general at public universities in many southern states. So like University of Georgia and so forth and so on. And I'm going to be honest with you. This, in my personal opinion, was an ill-baked idea and concept that was not really thought through. For this to be the NAACP, one of the most storied black institutions, and for them to jump out there, in my personal opinion, and do this without thinking it through, in my personal opinion, it's a bad look. And let me explain to you why. First of all, we're not even going to talk about how you're making a public call for the athletes to boycott the schools that they play for. Because let's be clear, you spoke on alumni and family and the community at large, but in order for this to actually work and be effective, you need the actual athletes to not play. If the athletes play, this is all null and void. So you called a large group of people, but the main people you actually need for this to work would be the athletes. That's number one. And my first thought when it comes to this is we are calling for them to boycott. But we aren't calling for musicians and comedians and all these other people who travel across the country making money. We aren't calling for them to boycott the southern states. So why would you call for an athlete to boycott playing for their school, an 18 to 24-year-old, but you got people 25 and older who are traveling to these places, still doing shows and still making their money? It just doesn't make sense to have a higher standard for the young people as opposed to the older generation. That's the first thing. But the main thing is this. We are in the NIL era of sports, meaning that these athletes are overtly being paid, meaning everybody knows about it, it's out on the table, it's not secret, it's not under, it's right there, boom. These kids are being paid to play for these schools. Anywhere between, let's say, 10,000 and a few million, depending on what position and how good they are, and so forth and so on. And so what you have to understand is a couple of things. Number one, these schools or whoever they're getting the money from do not have the funds to pay the entire roster, the entire amount of money that they owe them up front. Which means a lot of these athletes, most of them, are on a payroll or payment plan. Meaning, I give you this amount of money to agree to come and play for the school. I might give you some more money for spring ball. I might give you some more money week 0, week 1. I might give you some more halfway through the season, some more championship week, some more during bowl week. It's spread out. And once again, these are young people. So many of these young people have already received some sort of payment, but not all of their payment. But let's just be real. Not just young people, but old people as well. But we're talking about young people. These young people, in many instances, have spent money that they have not received yet. Because they know I'm getting paid this amount on these dates. To tell a young person to not play, even though they're being paid to play, and they've already made all of these financial commitments based upon monies they plan on receiving down the line for playing, is not realistic. The amount of money that's been spent and that's already allocated to be spent, the amount of money that's owed, the amount of money that guys are relying on coming to them to take care of not just wants, but also some needs, and not just their needs, but needs from other people in their family. It is not a realistic ask to say, "Oh yeah, y'all need to boycott." That's not realistic. This was not, in my opinion, this was not thought through because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. These young men these young men are now in agreements to provide a service for an amount of money. And some of that money has already been dispersed. And so the amount of legal issues and court issues that a lot of these, and financial issues that a lot of these young men would find themselves in, if they were to actually boycott playing, like, come on now. This does not make, it's not a logical ask. It's not a fair ask. And it's not just them. The amount of benefits and jobs and looking after that some of these young people's parents and siblings and kids and friends have gotten because they're on these teams agreeing to play for these schools, that also affects them if they decide, oh, I'm not going to. Like, you can't just say I'm not going to play. This is not the scholarship era where I'm just here for tuition. No, you're getting paid money now, over the table. You probably signed something or some sort of agreement. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And so when I look at this, I'm be real with you. Personally, I personally believe that this was done to generate attention and buzz and clicks, because there's no way this was fully thought out. There's no way you thought that this was something that's realistically was going to happen. So then the question becomes, why did you put it out? And once again, I think this was put out for publicity. Because let's just say, for the sake of argument, that a lot of these athletes were indeed paid the full amount up front. So they've already gotten the money. How much of the money do you think has already been spent? And what do you think happens when you are paid a large sum of money up front to do something, and then after you get the money, you say, I'm not doing it? People come after the money. And how much of the money do you think has already been spent? And so then what happens? Exactly. And I can hear somebody saying, well, the schools won't do anything because they don't want to look bad. And I would say, yeah, do you want to risk that? And I would also say a good portion of this money is not coming from the school directly. A lot of the money is coming from people who are wealthy and affiliated with the university. And trust me, I'm fairly confident that these wealthy individuals who are opening their pockets because they want to see their alma mater do well, they're not going to be worried about bad publicity when they ask for their money back. They're not going to be worried about optics when they go to court for their money back. If you have this amount of money to spend on a school that you don't even go to anymore, being successful in football, you're not worried about what people are saying on Twitter about how you must be a racist because you took this young man to court and didn't support the cause. No, trust me, there's going to be plenty of boosters that's not thinking about none of that. If you're not playing, we getting our money back. And so once again, I don't think this was thought through. because there's no way that you thought legally this could work with players being played. And there's no way logistically you thought that this would actually had a chance of happening. There's no way you actually believe this was ever going to happen. This was done for publicity. And honestly, it's a bad look.